Was it drugs or something?
He was paid to do it.
He was paid to do it?
Yeah.
Where were you shot?
In my hands, my legs several times, like 5 times in my hands, and then in my legs, and then in my face. I got shot right here. I was sitting in the car. He was waiting. He was double parked. He was waiting on me, right?
After 9 shots, 50 Cent ultimately came clean about the shooter, and that revelation drastically altered his life. We will go further into the crazy day that Curtis James Jackson was shot in the full body, and we will discover why the assailant did it in the first place. 50 Cent was simply a regular guy trying to make it in the seedy neighborhoods of South Jamaica, Queens, long before he turned into the successful man he is today. When the crack epidemic first started in the 1980s, 50 Cent was just a young child trying to make ends meet. Young 50 Cent had already jumped into the world of drug sales and street hustling by the time he reached the ripe old age of 12. Hip-hop was not 50 Cent's primary interest during this time. Rather, he was working hard on the streets to provide for his family. He didn't really know his dad growing up because his mother died when he was just 8 years old. Therefore, the individuals he looked up to were South Jamaican street heroes who ran the show and made the money. To put it plainly, you had a difficult time. At 8 years old, your parents abandoned you. You started selling drugs on the streets at the age of 12, since it was your sole means of subsistence. Kenneth McGriff, sometimes known as Supreme, was one of these notable figures. Supreme was now akin to a kingpin in South Jamaica, a moniker that would genuinely chill everyone in the area. He was Superman-like at 50 Cent, a guy who knew exactly what he was doing. The Supreme team was a close-knit group of people at Supreme. Their company? White Powder. Who are their clients? In this very moment, in South Jamaica, the Supreme team reportedly made up to $200,000 in a single day when it was at its best. Although Supreme was not a prominent cartel leader, he managed a vast drug trafficking enterprise that left other groups in awe. The gang flourished under Supreme's leadership, adding hundreds of members. Since some of the members of the Supreme team were real killers, you didn't want to screw about with them. The leaders included Supreme's cousin Gerald Miller, aka Prince, Bimmy, Righteous, Baby Wise, and Black Just. Fiddy and Black just shared a unique friendship. Some even referred to Black as Fiddy's absentee big brother. He was the one who gave Fiddy his first motorcycle and sent him to a boxing gym in addition to watching out for him on the streets. Fiddy used turntables to create his tracks while spouting rhymes in a friend's basement when he wasn't sparring in the gym. With the passage of time, Fiddy began delving further into hip-hop. He was introduced to Jam Master Jay, his rap tutor, in 1996 by a friend. Fiddy was then taught by Jam Master Jay how to write hooks, count bars, structure songs, and other jazz-related skills. However, Supreme also contracted rap fever at the same time that he did. As you can see, Supreme admitted to operating a criminal operation after being detained in 1987. Fiddy was given a 12-year term to serve in prison. However, he was able to serve just approximately 5 years before being granted parole in 1994. Supreme was therefore right in the thick of the hip-hop genre's golden age when he returned to the scene. Supreme made the decision to give up the drug game entirely since hip-hop was the hottest thing in the USA. Hip-hop, in his opinion, was his path to a new beginning, clean money, and an entirely new identity. Supreme partnered with Murder Inc. Records, one of the largest rap labels at the time, in the early 2000s with the goal of becoming a prominent name in the industry. These men were the hip-hop scene's kings in the early 2000s, putting out song after hit and influencing pop culture in addition to the streets. The creative mind behind that label was none other than hip-hop legend and producer Irv Gotti. They had musicians writing the Murder Incorporated wave, including Ja Rule, Ashanti, Charlie Baltimore, and Black Child. They had significant defense against their competitors with Supreme on their side. Plus, Murder Incorporated's street cred was greatly enhanced by partnering with Supreme. Supreme obviously made the right decision because Ja Rule was one of the hottest rappers in the nation at the time. Everyone was happy as the label was piling money left and right. However, they experienced a very difficult patch in 1999. While Ja Rule was filming a music video, a guy named Troy stole his chain. Rumor had it that Troy killed her because he believed Ja Rule was having an affair with his wife. Supreme has again demonstrated his value to murder, incorporated by using his connections to get that chain back. But this is when things became interesting. At a club, Ja Rule noticed Troy having a nice conversation with 50 Cent.
A friend of mine's robbed Ja Rule. And I'm in a club, and I see the nigga, I'm like, hey, what's up? You know, I'm chilling. He see me kicking it with the nigga that robbed him, and he feel like, oh shit, I shouldn't speak to this dude, because I know the kid robbed him, but I know this kid, I grew up with him.
Jabril believed 50 Cent was complicit in the scheme to rob him because of all that was going on. Playing it cool, 50 claimed that he was simply hanging out with Troy because they were friends. Let me now analyze 50's extreme bravery in taking on Ja Rule head-to-head. 50 Cent was merely an unknown rapper at the time who was signed to Columbia Records. 50 hadn't even released a first album yet, but Ja Rule already had records that had sold platinum. Now that 50 Cent was just this grimy gangster rapper with nothing more than his street smarts and fiery attitude, Ja Rule had the support of a major label and the entire industry behind him. This is where the situation becomes even more hazy. Ja Rule categorically denied having ever seen Troy and 50 together. He said that the reason for their feud was because 50 Cent was given the cold shoulder by the Murder Incorporated team during the filming of the music video for Murder for Life, and this entire chain robbery incident happened after the shoot. Thus, this timing seemed rather shady. It's possible that we will never truly know what sparked this feud. 50 Cent, however, was not going to tolerate any disrespect. That much is certain. He spoke with Supreme about it first, though, before making any significant moves. Supreme allegedly told him to leave this little dude alone. They have problems, as you are aware, but this is my business. But rather than bringing the temperature down, the beef continued to heat up. Irv Gotti and the rest of the Murder Incorporated team were all called out by 50 Cent. 50, guy, how do you define a wankster? Really? What's that? Ja Rule. Gotti Irv. I can personally attest that Murder Incorporated is a *** organization, as are the individuals you see, such as Irv and Ja, who handle business matters, as if these ends were devoid of hoods. This is the news then. When 50 and Ja Rule were scheduled to play at the same performance, they happened to meet Pats at the Swiss Hotel in Atlanta. Chas Williams, 50's manager, thought it would be a good idea to talk and maybe, just maybe, perhaps, put the hatchet to rest. However, this ended up being the time they chose to punch each other rather than have a heart-to-heart. As things became really crazy, 50 Cent succeeded in stealing Ja Rule's chain. He did not lose any time in ensuring that everyone was aware of it. He even released the song Your Life's on the Line, a trash track. He performed one of the most embarrassing maneuvers in hip-hop history in the music video. He was swaying Ja's chain as though it were his own jewelry. In the end, Supreme managed to retrieve Ja Rule's chain from 50, but 50 did not walk home empty-handed. In the process, he won a watch for himself. Nonetheless, talk about that music video is still prevalent today. For Ja, that was the ultimate slap in the face, and things were going to get ugly from this point on. 50 Cent's career growth was seriously hampered by Ja Rule and the Murder Incorporated crew's attempts to put the screws on him in the music industry. Then, on March 24, 2000, things resumed in a physical sense. Ja Rule was in one room at the Hit Factory building, while 50 was in another. Jay was unable to participate, but when he learned that 50 was in the Hit Factory studio nearby, he persuaded his friends to go beat him. That was while he was using crutches. Thus, 50 and his group engaged in a full-fledged combat with Black Child and other assassination members. When you see N in the F*** studio or anywhere else, N wants to talk, and ** says, nah, there's nothing to talk about. That's when you have a beef. 5 of us and 5 of them ***, are getting into it, fighting, and having a good time. Inexplicably, the lights went out and started using it in the dark. The man who had just finished speaking was the same one who had humiliated Fiddy, black child. Fiddy, however, worked things out and lived to tell the story. In order to protect Fiddy Sin from the murderous group, the judge placed a restraining order on black child, who was ultimately sent behind bars. People began chatting among themselves, speculating that Fiddy might be a snitch as a result of this action. However, it was the release of the song Ghetto Kuren that really turned the street gang against Fiddy and put a target on his back. Fiddy listed all of the prominent drug dealers, hustlers, gangsters, and queens on this song. Thus, in addition to pursuing his fellow artists, he was drawing attention to street commerce and making it visible to all parties, including the federal government. However, Fiddy's account stated that he had no intention of being a snitch at all. He claimed that all he was doing was honoring the originals. However, Supreme felt it was time to permanently terminate this 50-cent issue because he had had enough of Fiddy. He therefore paid a cool $25,000 for a hit on him. Around noon on May 24, 2000, Fiddy experienced the scariest moment of his life. He was driving and waiting with his friend Curtis Brown in front of his grandmother's crib. Curtis's girlfriend was in the back seat with Fiddy, having a good time. Now, Fiddy's companion reminded him to take his diamond pin before he got back in the car. He therefore brought his piece with him in case something happened when he was returning to the car with the pin. According to Fiddy, he saw the automobile. The car arrived on the side of us as I was walking from the garden to sit in the actual car that my companion had been waiting for me in. A man exited the car through the passenger seat, rounded the back, and fired through the body of the car. That bullet caused a great deal of damage. It tore through his hip, his thighs, his arms, his face, and even his chest. Fiddy suffered a fractured leg, a swollen tongue, and even the loss of a wisdom teeth as a result of everything. What more do you know? It's what has affected his voice and caused his words to become slurred. Before being released from the hospital, he was admitted for an astounding 13 days. Now, Daryl Palmo Baum was the one who actually killed 50 Cent. Baum was acquainted with Mike Tyson, having served as his security in the past. The really bad news is this: 50 Cent wasn't the only target for Supreme. In addition, he placed hits on Big Nose Troy and E-Moneybags. Supreme's life sentence without the possibility of release brought the criminal world to an abrupt end for him in 2001. However, this entire episode permanently altered 50 Cent's life. When it all started, 50 hit its lowest point. It hit him square in the belly when he lost his contract with Columbia Records. But after recovering from those wounds, he quickly made his way back into the studio and dropped Guess Who's Back, one of the greatest mixtapes ever. Fiddy felt as though a new chapter in his life had begun when M signed him to Shady Records after that mixtape somehow attracted the notice of none other than Eminem. Fiddy hasn't looked back since. What are your thoughts on Fiddy's life and how he overcame all the obstacles that he faced? Please share your thoughts with us in the space provided for comments below. Please remember to hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel if you liked this video so you can have the newest hip-hop news delivered right to your feed. As always, subscribe to receive the newest hip-hop news directly in your feed. And as always, don't forget to keep it before you leave.